Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
Well, boys, off-season's over. We didn't even realize it until the end of our last lighthearted Patreon-exclusive midweek episode, but that's it. Break's done. Easy times past us. Time to wake up. Evan, you had an eloquent response to that.
I don't want to. I don't know what I said. It was probably an expletive, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like immediate. This is the quickest I've ever seen you reply. Hockey's being played. We're here. Did that off-season feel long, or did that feel like sprinting for like 18 months, somehow cramming two full-ish hockey seasons in there? And all of a sudden, now we're finally starting on a proper schedule again.
I feel like the season ended 3 days ago.
Yeah, time really is irrelevant right now.
It was a good break. Like, I do feel like we got a good break away from the mayhem. But yeah, it also feels like I can tell you exactly what happened in the Red Wings last game that they actually played on NHL ice.
It's crazy to think that this week it's October. Doesn't make any sense.
How is that? How can that be? It's still the end of August right now.
I know. I feel the same way. It was just Labor Day weekend. I don't know what we're doing.
Oh, well, hockey is back. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. We are here. We are excited to talk about Red Wings hockey. I am your host with a temporary burst of energy, Ryan Hanna.
I do not have said burst of energy. I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
And Evan, I like our new thing that we're doing, which is pointing out features about Evan for new listeners because they don't always understand him. One of Evan's favorite hobbies is to wear the world's loudest clothes.
I was waiting for you to mention that.
It's like the moment you walk in the door, I'm like, why is he wearing a raincoat, or a windbreaker? I get why it's windy, but
it's October 1st. I've got to start to layer up now.
Yeah,
now you just got to sit there like this with your arms out the whole episode.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just wait till I have a nice poofy jacket. It'll be great.
I will stab you through it.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure it's dark colors.
If it looks like it can be popped, we will try to pop it.
Okay, this episode of the podcast, obviously the Red Wings are back at training camp. We can discuss a little bit about what that looks like from returning players for young prospects competing. We're going to take a quick look into what's to come, but a lot of this episode is going to be dedicated to a topic where
I could see the anxiety wash over your face.
As
soon as you started talking.
Ryan's favorite topic in the world.
it's funny how the listeners know us. Like they personally know who we are as people. And I sometimes forget that because, we talk into the mics and we interact with them on the Discord and things like that. But I've received multiple DMs from people, some short, some long, basically all wishing us luck with this topic because they know it's going to be a pain. So we're going to feed into this. I'm going to lay the groundwork. And we're going to have a discussion about, obviously, one of the biggest stories in the Red Wings world for the past little while, which is Tyler Bertuzzi's decision to remain unvaccinated. And he's the only player in the organization to make that decision. And we're going to have it in as civil and measured a way as possible. We understand what's to come in terms of the passion and the comments, the messages and everything. There's no asking that away, but we're going to bring this to you from a perspective of what this means for the Red Wings. We're going to add, it's not going to be completely free of subjectivity. There's no way we can honestly sit here and say there's no opinion being fed into this, but we're going to account for that subjectivity where we can. And if you disagree, that's fine, because that's everyone's prerogative. And if you agree with us 100% of the time, that's probably a really bad sign.
I'm just glad I don't read any of the messages because I'm sure you're going to get a few essays at some point.
I told Mel to take my phone away after we record this episode. Take my phone away for 2 weeks.
Yeah, remember, we don't check the main account. We all check the same account on Twitter. It's at Ryan Hanna WWP.
Yeah. All complaints, please forward to Ryan Hanna WWP at Twitter.
Actually, send them to at Born to Dan Hard. He'll filter through them. Okay.
At POTUS.
Oh God, this is gonna go great.
Yeah. The NHL.
All I hope is that everybody goes into this serious topic with the same stupid sense of humor we are.
At this point,
I just hope everybody has fun.
just have a good time. Don't hurt each other. Have a good time. That's it. Oh
yes,
yeah.
call us idiots for our bad takes about hockey. We give you enough of them to sustain your rage.
So the surprising news to me coming into this year was that the vast majority of the NHL is vaccinated, fully vaccinated. And I'm talking, I think the number was like 95+%, or like 15 or so players aren't. And those aren't exact numbers, and I don't know how they've been updated since the last time I looked.
As far as I can tell, we've only been able to get confirmation, or at least names attached to 3 players. Obviously, there's going to be more than that. So obviously, other teams are keeping the information a little closer to the vest, which is why I was surprised that Yzerman was so open about it. Which, hey, I mean, good for him. Like, I'm a big fan of transparency. But yeah, because it's just Bertuzzi, Ronaldo, and Bodie Wild, from what I've gathered.
So one NHL player.
Like, honestly, but actually.
So, and here's the thing: by and large, it's one of the most vaccinated workplaces that I've heard of. Period. And
hey, I'm at 100% now. Try me.
Oh yeah.
I told you, the one guy who wasn't, he quit last week. So we're
anyhow, by and large, it's going to be one of the most vaccinated workplaces you're going to find. And so coming into this year, I had a big sense of satisfaction because that means fewer interruptions to NHL hockey. People who have passionate opinions against the vaccine, it doesn't matter if we subjectively disagree about that. That is like, this is legitimately, you are going to see more NHL hockey because there are going to be fewer COVID related interruptions. Here are the policies around unvaccinated players in the NHL. And this is really important to note as this conversation continues about Tyler Bertuzzi. Players who aren't vaccinated will only be able to go to their team hotel, practice facility, and arena while being unable to use areas such as bars, restaurants, gyms, and pools. They'll also be forbidden from having teammates or visitors in their hotel rooms. And under NHL rules, teams will be permitted to suspend unvaccinated players who are unable to participate in club activities, whether due to a positive test for COVID-19 or inability to travel because of government restrictions. As of right now, unvaccinated players cannot travel into Canada if they are coming from the States.
Detroit has how many Canadian teams in their division?
3.
Yeah, that's ideal.
9 games in Canada this year, and we'll get to that. Unvaccinated players lose 1 day's pay for each day that they miss, though the league will make exceptions for players who do not take a vaccine due to religious or medical reasons. So there's obviously a set list of exemptions that they have. But as of right now,
it's worth noting that NHL officials have went and said that list of what is considered an exemption is very short.
It's short, and it's short everywhere.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, NHL's salaries, it's a little complicated how it's all worked out, but it's daily. So if Bertuzzi misses a game and also like the next 2 days of practice, like that's 3 days pay that he misses. It's not per game. So the actual number is a little uncertain, but as of right now, being unvaccinated on the Red Wings means Bertuzzi cannot travel into Canada, which means he will not be playing for those 9 games, which is roughly about $450,000. And he knows this. So that all being said, you now have a single player on the Red Wings, which is obviously Tyler Bertuzzi, choosing not to be vaccinated. When he was in his media availability, he was pretty firm about it. Like, he was set in stone, and he said it's a personal decision. It's a life choice, doesn't really want to get into it. And that is all correct. It is a personal decision. No one's going to strap him to a chair. No one could strap him to a chair and jab it in him. He doesn't want to give the details, and that's perfectly fine. That's his prerogative. But those are the conditions that he's going to have to work under in his workplace, which is the NHL. This is a big hiccup for the Red Wings because Bertuzzi is one of the most important players on the team. And he was going to be... his trajectory is going to factor into the Red Wings rebuild in a really big way, one way or the other. If you think back to our conversation after he got signed, we were either he's being moved, which looked very likely even at that time, or they're keeping him and he's an important part of this core. So this is a big wrinkle.
Yeah. I guess I'll go, the first angle I'll take on this is the team angle, because hockey's probably the most guilty sport for you do what's best for the team. Does not matter what the subject is, does not matter the context. It's hockey culture is always you do what's best for the team. So again, I'm very pro player. I'm pro, players should be able to do what they want, get what they want, advertise what they want, yada, yada, yada. So from that standpoint, hey, I'm not opposed to Bertuzzi making a decision for himself. I have no problem with stuff like personal decision with players. But, and this is something I've been critical of for a while, which is going to be relevant here. NHL players, by and large, don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. They care about what's best for the team. And this personal decision that Bertuzzi made hurts the team. And some players on the Red Wings won't care. Like, they should. Like, most players don't care about, PK Subban going to get advertisements or someone's Evander Kane going to the casino after games. Like, they don't care. That's their lives. They're not going to judge these. But a lot of players do. And a lot of players see anything that's detrimental to the team as that player being a bad teammate. And let me be clear, I'm not giving my opinion whether or not I would consider Bertuzzi a bad teammate. I'm saying that's how the locker room is going to react, and the locker room is probably going to be split. Bertuzzi's got friends in that locker room, friends that want to go out to dinner with him, want to go hang out in his hotel room, want to do stuff on off days with him. He can't do that with them now. And one of the things with chemistry in a hockey team is it's not built on the ice. Yeah. It's off the ice, and Bertuzzi's not going to be part of that. So you look at guys who are new to the team like Seider and Vrana, etc., Mitchell Stevens, so on and so forth, Nedeljkovic. They're not really going to get to know Bertuzzi all that well this year. So that's another wrinkle into this. And again, it's going to create this really awkward air in the dressing room. I don't care whether you think it should or shouldn't.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. And I don't care whether you think it should or shouldn't. It's going to. That's the reality of the situation. And how the team handles that, who knows? Every team, every player is different, but you'd be naive to sit there and think this isn't going to cause, I'm not going to say problems, but tension's probably the better word.
And it's awkwardness too, right? Like, let's say the power play group's going out to grab lunch. Well, now he's just not going to go. Like, a lot of people would be okay with that, but there's going to be some guys who are like, dude, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
There's going to be people like that, and there'll be people who care, don't care. Like, everybody's got their own opinion. And it's going to be awkward for sure in the room, especially at the start, as you have to be like, oh yeah, right, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And that's not even adding in, because again, we'd be dumb to not include the quote unquote pandemic element of this, whereas a good chunk of the population does not care about COVID. They are not worried about COVID. That's their opinion. That's fine. But there's another good chunk of the population who's super worried about COVID. They've got young kids who can't get vaccinated, so they're on high alert at all times.
Oh, Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah.
There's one on the way, yeah.
So there's going to be players in the Red Wings dressing room who fall on both ends of that spectrum. Because, again, I don't remember which Red Wings off the top of my head have kids or what everybody's medical situation is. If they have a wife who's at high risk, I don't know. I don't care. I'm just averaging out populations here, and there's like 20-something players in this organization, so you're going to get a good representation of what the overall society will look like. I mean, it's his choice. It's by definition a selfish choice because he's making it for himself, which is fine. But there are repercussions and consequences of choices, and unfortunately, they're going to be tense, they're going to be awkward, and they're going to cause problems.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to like move this into like my own work, like if I made the decision not to get vaccinated and these were the things I had to now go through for work, like it's a lot. Like it's a lot of things to comply with, as well as trying to be an NHL hockey player. Like there's a lot of moving pieces on that, and like a lot of things you have to sacrifice for a personal choice. Like I know it's not like he's like battling with the population to get it or not get it. It's just like at some point I'd be like, I am just sick and tired of not like seeing my teammates or having to do all this extra BS. Like, I'm just going to get it because I'm sick and tired of this. And like the NHL grind's bad enough.
In an ironic way, I think what you guys have mentioned here would be, especially like the teammate chemistry thing, would be less of a problem. And you mentioned this before we started recording, Brad, if more of the team was unvaccinated, which is funny. For me, the biggest takeaway is I think this is just a guess. I can't pretend to know these guys. I think on ice, we're going to see a fantastic Tyler Bertuzzi player who I hope stays like injury free and healthy this year so he can have a full season. I think he's going to perform well in the top 6. And I think on ice, it's not going to matter. Like, I don't think we're going to see a big translation there. Like that, we're going to forget about it a lot of the times because hockey's going to be played and he's good at it.
And that's a really damn good player, so he can adapt.
Exactly. For me, that's my teammate who I know to be one of the best players on this team who's just not playing in 9 games. And I'm not saying there's no conviction in the world that can overrule that. I disagree. I personally, Ryan, disagree with this specific conviction, but that doesn't mean that like other people are allowed to have their own opinions. That's fine. But if that means you are just straight up saying, I am not coming to these 9 games, no, the Red Wings aren't a playoff team, but as a teammate, that blows.
Yeah, that was one thing I wanted to add. Like, good thing the Red Wings aren't good, because what if
100%, yeah.
What if it was coming down to maybe Toronto or Ottawa or Montreal, and they've got a road swing in Ontario at the end of the season to make the playoffs, and Tyler Bertuzzi's not there? Then I would be actually pissed off, and I would be so disappointed in a teammate taking that decision.
Is it sad that in a twisted way this could benefit the Red Wings? Because it could get them a few points closer to Shane Wright.
Steve, are you disappointed in Tyler's decision? Why? No, he's helping the tank.
The next 2 years, it's a great decision. Ask me again in year 3.
All right, so I decided to look it up just because Evan brought it up, and it was actually a good point I didn't think about. If the Red Wings are in a playoff race, like if they are that team, like every year there's a team that comes out of nowhere. If that's the Red Wings this year, their second last game of the year is against Toronto. I don't know if that's home or away. It's in Toronto?
No, I was asking you.
I don't know. I'm looking. I don't know what the colors mean. I'm trying to figure it out.
Red means Red Wings and white means away.
Okay, it's in Detroit. Thank God. Actually, yeah, their last road game. They do have a road game in. So in April, they have 2 road games in Canada.
So the team's going to work around this. Bertuzzi, plain and simple, like they're not going to just dump him for nothing. They're not going to do whatever. Like Tyler Bertuzzi is a very good player, and like I said, like it or not, a lot of the times we're going to forget it on the ice.
There's a lot of assholes in sports too. Like there's a lot of shitty people. Like it's not like, you know, this is a COVID thing. Like he's made his decision. Still a good hockey player. It's like there's still tons of athletes who are assholes but are amazing at their sport, right? Like this isn't the first person we've ever come across that's, you know, made a decision that's been polarizing.
No, yeah. And those people, like, it's easy to get caught up in the emotion of it and say, like, oh, well, they're just going to, like, he's worth nothing now to the team and he's not going to perform this year. No, like, the reality is he's going to perform well this year because he's a good hockey player, and that's that. I think what I want to feed into here is, how does Steve Yzerman feel about it, and what does this, more importantly, how does this change Steve Yzerman's hand? Because it was a very active hand that he had to play with Tyler Bertuzzi. Only a 2-year contract that he signed. So
it sort of feels like he doesn't really care what his decision. Well, he obviously cares, but it didn't seem like it really since when has Steve Yzerman ever come out so bluntly about anything? So that would made me think like maybe it doesn't matter to him. It's business is business. I can't tell.
I take the opposite from it. Yzerman's usually a vault.
Oh, he's throwing him on into the island.
I think he threw him under the bus here, and like, because again, Yzerman gives nobody anything ever to just come out and say, Tyler's not vaccinated. Like that was information that probably could have been kept secret until we noticed Bertuzzi wasn't at certain activities and yada yada yada. I'm not saying that is what happened, but I'm saying it's more likely than the alternative, just because nobody knew about this. Nobody was talking about it. All of a sudden, and then Yzerman did fall later in his presser by saying, well, I think a reporter asked him, and he's like, yeah, me and my family are vaccinated for whatever that's worth. So he willingly threw Bertuzzi under the bus and then willingly gave his opinion on his vaccination status. So read into that what you will, but I a part of me thinks it was a little bit of, okay, you're hurting the team here, so you deal with this.
So for the first time ever on a podcast with 3 hosts, I'm going to come in the middle here. I do think his words were very carefully chosen, Brad.
Yeah.
And Evan, I think you're right that in the end he's like, I still got to run this business. I can't strap the guy to a chair. I'm not going to go out and like say like.
I think it can be both at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it was in the same answer. It was, are you disappointed in Tyler's decision? He's like, no, like it's his decision to make. But then he did throw in that line of saying, I'm vaccinated, my family's vaccinated, I'll leave it at that. He wasn't slandering Tyler Bertuzzi. I'm sure he's not like seething mad, hardly able to sleep. I do think it's a wrinkle and it complicates his position as GM. And I do think that was maybe not saying like he's going to pressure him, because it looked like Bertuzzi was pretty firm. But I think that was, okay, you made this decision. You now have to face what's coming to you from fans, from media, and from the realities of these restrictions. And that's why he kind of put it out there. So
yeah.
Fourth.
Freedom of choice is not freedom of consequence, right? So Bertuzzi having to deal with the media at some point with this, it could be strategic buyers, but he's like, all right, let's just get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, Tyler, you're going to have to do this, and I'd rather you deal with this now, well before the season actually starts, that hopefully we are dealing with this less when the season opener rolls around. It could very well just be that as well, right? So I don't know, but there's no way to me Yzerman's not at least a little pissed about this, and vaccination itself, I think, has nothing to do with it. This made Bertuzzi as an asset worth less than he otherwise would have been. And I made the point, I think, when Bertuzzi signed his extension, when people were asking, oh, is he getting traded because it's short term? Is he not? And I said, I don't think Yzerman's made up his mind on that yet. And I still don't think Yzerman's made up on his mind that he was going to let things play the course. But now Yzerman knows he's less valuable to the team because he's missing 9 games. And if I decide that, you know what, trading him is the better option, he's now going to get less value in trade. So Bertuzzi did hurt his quote unquote asset value by doing this. And that can't make Yzerman happy.
No. And I think the best case scenario here is that things play out. The COVID situation gets better globally. I don't know. And then restrictions generally loosen where this isn't a problem, because by and large, the NHL is a very vaccinated workplace. So I'm very comfortable with saying that we're not going to see a lot of instances of like bad medical outcomes for NHL players and or interruptions to NHL hockey. So that to me is not a concern even right now. So if things loosen and relax, then this kind of goes away. And then that asset value comes up. Predicting that the pandemic is going to end or this is going to be bad.
Can't wait for the next Delta version or next variant.
I heard it's all over February 2nd, 2022. Like, it's just done.
Yeah.
Just in time for the trade deadline.
So, but no, it's extremely complicated. Bertuzzi was one of the most uniquely complicated star players who had the potential to be traded situations in the NHL already. And this is... what do you do? What's the angle? And I can't even begin to predict.
Because I can see arguments from both sides here on this one. Okay, he is now a distraction to his team for all the reasons I laid out earlier about the dynamics of a hockey locker room. We don't want that distraction. Trade him. Okay, but now he's a diminished asset. You don't want to trade him now while his value is low. You want to... You said it jokingly, but kind of literally, wait for the pandemic to be way less serious than it is now, whether that's next year or the year after. We got 2 years before his contract expires, and trade him then when his value is, quote unquote, back to normal. So there's no right answer here. There's no wrong answer here. There's just no way around it. It's complicated things, and not in a good way for the Red Wings.
Well, he's not getting traded to the Islanders because Lou Lamoriello came out very strong that everyone would be vaccinated, and I think they all are.
Yeah, Lou's probably the one GM in the league who can say, you're getting vaccinated. Even the most staunch, like, I'm not doing it, would just look at him and go, yes, sir, okay.
Should I do both doses at once, or should I wait? Yeah.
Lou's the only guy who could get away with that.
Honestly, it's going to sound like a ridiculous thing to say.
Wait, actually, which is crazy to think, because Bodie Wild is in the Islanders organization. And
he doesn't play for the Islanders.
I don't think he was invited to camp. So
no, he wasn't.
And he was a hot, like an early second round pick. He's not a nothing prospect.
I remember us talking about wanting
Bodie
Detroit
Wild
to draft him.
Yeah, he hasn't, set the world on fire since he got drafted, but he hasn't been terrible either. So,
I think a big asset during this pandemic and during all of this has been a general sense of this shit's like everything is futile. We're all going to die. Just laugh at everything. That's how I've approached this conversation. I genuinely am. I'm looking forward to one way or another this not being a distraction. I'm going to add one point to counter what you said, Brad, not just for the sake of devil's advocate, because I think this actually might be the case. I think you did a good job of outlining the risks of like those restrictions, the risks of how that would affect the team chemistry. I think the NHL, these are professionals and it will make an impact. I think there's a baseline level that's going to make an impact. You can't ignore that. I don't know that it will be to the degree. I think we can't really speak confidently to how these players feel about this kind of thing. They might just not give a shit. They might say, yeah, well, whatever. Like my wife and kids going to Costco is the same amount of risk as me seeing you and then me going home. Like it is what it is. So I just want to I wanted to note that part.
Yeah. It's not an argument of, is it going to affect the room? It is. It's just to what levels on a scale of 1 to 100. It could be anything from 2 to 99. We have no idea. Like we have absolutely no idea. I hope it's on the lower end because I just want to enjoy hockey. And unfortunately, this is looking at the schedule. The Red Wings have games in Canada in April. This is never not going to be a topic this year. So we just have to deal with it. And everybody who disagrees with each other just has to deal with it because we're all watching the same team open for the same thing. So
yeah, I am one thing I can't get away from, trying to remain as objective as possible. Where that ends for me is I can't get away from being disappointed that he's willingly not playing 9 games. I think Tyler Bertuzzi is one of the most important players in this hockey team, and it's, for me personally as a fan, a very disappointing decision. Anyone, yelling about it's his personal right, it's his choice, yeah, absolutely. I will never tell you otherwise. I'm just disappointed in the decision. And like you said, Brad, that's, whether you think it's a serious consequence or if you're laughing and saying Tyler doesn't give a fuck, yeah, probably not. And very clearly, he's very staunch in his decision. That's fine. But there are going to be a lot of people in fandom, which matters, especially for a team that's bad. The fans matter because they keep the team afloat, really, while they're bad. And it might matter in the room. So that's for me the part that I have a hard time with. We're unfortunately going to have to face it 9 times this season. But other than that, you just have to hope that he stays healthy. I mean, injury healthy. He has a full season. Hockey's good, and you know what? Seider just comes in and makes all of Hockey Town smile, and we can just forget this shit.
I just had to laugh too, just at the possibilities when you mentioned we're gonna have to deal with it this season. I'm like, I can't wait to see the online discourse. Let's say Bertuzzi tweaks something, but we notice that he's out of the lineup before we know what the injury is, and watching
upper body injury.
If he's out of the lineup for every reason, the bomb goes off. If he gets put on the COVID protocol list, the bomb goes off.
Yeah.
Both sides are just gonna have coexist peacefully as he's playing, and everything's happening. Go Red Wings! Yay! We're all happy. Bertuzzi placed on IR. You did this to it. No, this was your fault. And it was, oh no, here we go again.
Oh no, are we becoming the Leafs?
I hope Red Wings fans are better than that.
So, hope everyone made it through. If you're yelling, thanks for sticking out. If you're not yelling,
whatever.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
I'm too tired for this shit.
Use your turn signals. Eat fruits and vegetables. I don't know. That's the life advice in the end. Let's move on. Let's talk about some training camp things, some general Red Wings things. There's just been a mishmash of news. Some of this is going to come from that press conference. First of all, Bobby Ryan got his PTO, so I know Bobby Ryan was a big. Oh, you thought I was looking at you because you're moving a lot because your coat.
I thought I was about to die.
No, I was looking. Yeah, it was making a lot of noise, but that's just you, Evan.
Yeah.
Bobby Ryan got his PTO, which I think made a lot of people happy. So
and then subsequently Jacob Vrana gets injured. Yes. So here we are.
Thank God Bobby Ryan signed his PTO before the Bertuzzi news came out, because I would have seen the conspiracy theory starting there.
Yes. So the PTO, I mean, aside from injury excluded here, it does two things. One, it gives the Red Wings a very competitive body at camp who could, get a contract with the team still. We all know that forward lineup is very jam-packed, but really this is also a favor to Bobby Ryan. It's an NHL audition. NHL teams want to know who he is after that injury. Do you still have that capacity to play how you did for the Red Wings at the start of last season? And this PTO will give him that chance. So hopefully the result for Bobby Ryan is a contract in the end. I don't predict it'll be with the Wings, but we'll see.
Never know.
Camp has started. Vrana was dealing with issues. Well, camp has started and, ended today.
He had visa issues,
I think. Visa issues. He got to camp yesterday. 10 minutes into his time on the ice, he injured his shoulder, and now he has to go see a specialist tomorrow.
We're off to a great start this season. I can tell this season's going to go well for us.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, Red Wings hockey is back.
We were wondering, hey, maybe Foligno or Raymond gets in with an injury. I really wish it wasn't Vrana.
I didn't do something at the start. I think I was so eager to navigate the Bertuzzi news, I didn't do our Jamie Daniels Foundation readout. I'm so sorry, Jamie Daniels Foundation, Ken, for not doing this at the start. For those of you who don't know, we have partnered with the Jamie Daniels Foundation, which is an incredible organization. The more we talk about substance use disorder, the faster we can end the stigma and get support to those in need. The Jamie Daniels Foundation is a children's foundation initiative, and it was established in memory of Jamie Daniels and founded by Jamie's father and Red Wings lead announcer, Ken Daniels, and Jamie's mother, Lisa Daniels Goldman. The foundation strives to end the stigma of substance use disorder and provide support to those struggling with the disease or who are in recovery. To learn more and offer your support, visit jamiedanielsfoundation.org. Okay, so the Bobby Ryan PTO is there. Vrana is injured, so Vrana's injured. Larkin didn't skate in today's red versus white game, so I think that was a planned part of his recovery, according to Max Bultman. I thought I saw him tweet that. And Bergeron and McIsaac are progressing with their injuries along, so I'm hoping that they get preseason action. The Red Wings preseason games don't start until Wednesday, I believe, right? So they actually have quite a bit of time before that kicks off. It's a 8:30 game on Wednesday night against Chicago, and then Thursday, Buffalo, they have another exhibition. You're going to see a lot of things like split squad, so not the entire squad will be at every game.
More Chase Pearson than you can handle.
Yeah, honestly. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in the preseason leading up to October 9th. And then October 14th is the home opener and the season opener against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So quite a bit of preseason Red Wings hockey to stay tuned to. Seider, as predicted, skating with Nick Leddy.
That wasn't predicted, but that's fantastic.
Why wouldn't that be predicted?
We thought it would be Hronek and Leddy on.
You thought it'd be Hronek and Leddy. I really thought it'd be Seider and Leddy.
I don't remember you saying that. But then again, I don't listen to most of what you say, so that's very, very likely.
That's my bit. Evan, how about you?
Yeah, I figured it would be something like that.
I thought I'd catch you off guard there, honestly.
I'm somewhat.
Mo Seider quarterbacking a power play was the most exciting development.
Someone's going to have to do it on the other unit.
And there's no good options beyond Nick Leddy, so
if it's
literally none. Seider is probably already the best option.
Are they going to go Leddy with Hronek on the left side?
No, you would want Seider and Hronek together on the power play if they're doing that, because Seider's the righty, better for him to tee up Hronek. You would want Leddy with Zadina or Vrana, lefty to lefty.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think another good thing, and it's funny because we were just watching drills of like one-timers, and it's not anything to be excited over, but it's just so thrilling to see. Hronek was launching them from his office. I think there's a mind here with Alex Tanguay coming in as power play coach to utilize Hronek in a way that makes more sense for him.
Yeah, Tanguay probably walked Blashill into the video room and just showed a video of Hronek quarterbacking the power play last year and went, "See this? Yes, this is done." And then queued up a video of the year before where Hronek was on the left side just teeing off against Anaheim and said, "You see this? We're doing this."
Yeah.
Put some real in-depth analysis into it.
And then there were also already people sent home from camp. Sebastian Costa, notably one of them, has been released back to his junior team in Edmonton, which is the Oil Kings. So that's to be expected. He wasn't going to make the team this year, but it's really, really important for now Costa to go back and have a strong year. It's unfortunate that he can't play a level up in hockey with that transfer agreement as is in place now, and I don't anticipate that changing.
He can go to the Dub. He can have a more normal season, play against a bigger variety of competition. He should dominate. And right now, he's the odds-on favorite to be Canada's starting goalie for the World Juniors, which will give him a real big taste of what true pressure feels like.
Yeah. So in addition to Kosa, Jan Bednash was sent back to his club. Cross Hannes and Pascal Zito. Pasquale, right? Sorry. Oscar Plandowski, who, whenever I saw Owski on a jersey, I was like, Dennis? Is that you? And those three guys were released back to their clubs. And then Cameron Butler, Luke Toporowski, and Cooper Walker were released from their amateur tryouts. T-Bone Cod survives another day. T-Bone Cod. Actually, why don't I pull up those lines? Max had lines that he gathered from watching. So the lines that were skating together, Bertuzzi, Larkin, Zadina, Fabry, Suter, Bobby Ryan, Vlad Nemesnikov, Michael Rasmussen, Adam Ernie, Sam Gagne, Carter Rowney, Giovanni Smith, Hiroshi Stevens, Lucas Raymond, Tutayev, and we got confirmation from our Russian speaker. There's no ch sound in it. It's just hard T's. Tutayev.
Tutayev. Does the Y matter?
Yeah, if you want to.
Like not like a Chutayev, but Tutayev.
Yeah. Valeno, Riley Barber, and then you have guys like Dominic Shine, Hayden Verbeek, Chris Guolo, Turner Elson, Jan Pearson, Spezia. Vrana being Spezia?
Spezia.
What a day.
Yeah. Anyways. DeKaiser, Hronik, Leddy, Seider, Stahl, Stetcher, Osterley, Lindstrom, Lashoff, New Power, Brubaker, Witkowski, Renouf, Alex Cotton, who's making a name for himself, and Plandowski's gone now, but Donovan Sabrango. So lots of guys in there. It's
interesting to me Mitchell Stevens wasn't in the top four, but other than that, those lines looked about almost how I would have drawn them up with Vrana out. So good on you, Jeff.
I think it's hard with so many guys who could potentially play in an NHL roster.
Yeah, these are not going to fully hold up, but
yeah. Again, we've talked about it before. The Red Wings have some tough decisions here. None of these players are going to be the difference between, multiple wins extra this season, but you have guys who are going to be NHL level competition who are going to have to beat out other NHL level players. There's no more Franz Nielsen's on this team. There's no more, well, actually on defense, you do have a few warm bodies, but that just is what it is. So these preseason games are going to decide quite a bit. We are obviously going to see more cuts. The injuries, though, might allow an opportunity for a guy like Valeno, or depending on how crazy it gets, Lucas Raymond, to be in the lineup on opening night.
Yeah, from everything I've been reading, Raymond's been impressive. So
yeah,
yay!
And Larkin has had nothing but praise to sing for Berggren, Raymond, and Seider, and that's not just because they are extremely talented prospects. It's because they've played pro level hockey against grown men for the past while now. So Seider has obviously been doing it ever since he was drafted because he played in the DEL.
He was doing it since before he was drafted.
Yeah. And, Raymond and Berggren playing in the SHL with Seider last year, not with him, but in the SHL last year, they do have some kind of advantage coming into the season. So will that translate into making the Red Wings? No, probably not, or at least not on a permanent basis. Well, for Seider, yeah, he's making the team.
It's on the top pairing, apparently.
Yeah.
Already.
But for Raymond and Berggren, if and when they are sent down, that's going to mean that their adjustment to the AHL won't be so bad. So a comment Yzerman made during the presser was about young guys moving in. And I know this is one that I could hear Brad's half chub go up from where I was. But Yzerman said, he made a comment about young players are moving into these roles, into these positions. And so a measure of success this year can't be wins and losses. And if that sounds familiar, you're right. He said a similar thing for the past, since he's...
That's the Jeff Blashill get out of a jail free card.
Unironically, yes. It means the coach isn't going to be held to a standard of how many points to achieve. But Yzerman's saying, it doesn't just mean, Veleno's eventually going to have to make this team, or Raymond's eventually going to have to make this team, or Seider's going to have these minutes. What he was really saying is like, Hronek has to be a leading defender on this team. He's talking about Filip Zadina has to be a leading winger on this team. The team is now run by these young guys, and that comes with an adjustment period. And it means you're not going to win a whole lot of games while they're adjusting.
All of Blashill's safety nets are gone. Anytime things went sideways, it was plug in Nielsen, throw out Filppula.
Oh, that's what you mean by safety net.
And 16 minutes a night of Darren Holm and Luke Glendening. We saw it like clockwork anytime things went sideways last year. He doesn't have that. Things are going bad. Sorry, Jeff. You have to throw out Michael Rasmussen and Giovanni Smith and Filip Zadina. Like, you don't have a choice here. So Yzerman's right. Like, it's sink or swim for these players. It's sink or swim for Blashill because none of them have alternatives. There's not enough vets on this team to hide them anymore. And
I don't think it's sink or swim for Blashill. I think you just play the young guys.
Less so, but but no, for the players for sure, it's you have to play. We cannot play you 4 minutes of regulation time and 6 minutes on the power play. Like, you have to play.
I predict that will be the case. I think these young guys, at direction from Yzerman, and probably, honestly, to give credit to Blashill, he recognizes that this is coming, and he's been better about it. I will give him credit there. I think the young guys are going to play, and I don't think there's ever going to be a question about Blashill's job all season. I don't think so at all. Obviously, he just signed the extension, so that was a given, but I'm going to talk to you, Brad. I think you are going to see what you want to see in terms of young guys playing. And I don't think at all we're going to question Blashill. Brad's going to come at me right now with something snarky.
Yeah,
I can
the
see
Red
him.
Wings start 0-8.
Yeah, the Red Wings at November are like 12, 18, and 6.
Listen,
like,
if we don't start the prospect profiles until December, that's a win this year.
Honestly,
I think last year we are already starting the list.
Let's play some semi-meaningful games around Christmas, and I'll be happy.
If the Red Wings, but the Red Wings are in a tougher division now, right?
Yes.
And our divisional previews are going to be starting soon. The Red Wings are in a tougher division, which means
the team can improve and lose more.
Exactly.
But what has been the actual standard I have held Blashill to this entire time? And the number one thing I've been critical of him for, player development. And you just said it. And yeah, you can, if Rasmussen doesn't improve this year, if Giovanni Smith doesn't improve this year, if Hronek doesn't improve this year, if Zadina doesn't improve this year, or at least most of those guys are not going in the direction we'd hope, yeah, that's on Blashill. I don't think that many players will regress, or not progress would probably be the better word, but they have to, and he can't shelter them. He has to play them, which means he has to develop them. He can't just kind of tuck Michael Rasmussen away for 8 minutes a night and say, he didn't play much, so, he is what he is. No, some of these guys have to play prominent roles. So that is entirely on the coach to develop them properly. And if the Red Wings are 20-60 at the end of the year, but Zadina's got 25 goals, Rasmussen's got 15, Giovanni Smith is like a very effective PK or something like that, I'm happy. Fine. That's what I wanted to see.
Seider is going to be everyone's focus, and I'm just so excited for this kid. I think he's genuinely this is not at all analytical. This is not objective. This is just a purely emotional sports fan thing. But I think a lot of Red Wings fans are feeling this, and Detroit sports fans are feeling this, similar to Cade Cunningham, some other athletes that are coming through Detroit sports. He's just he's just a sign.
A kicker on Minnesota today, and there he came through pretty good.
he's a sign that things are getting better. And I'm just so excited for this kid to go out there. I hold your expectations not too high, but he's so much fun to watch. He's going to destroy some people. He's going to do some fun stuff. He's a fan favorite. He's always got a smile on his face. People love him already. And I think that's just what the Red Wings fans and Detroit sports fans need. And so that is going to be fantastic. For me, my measure of on-ice success in terms of what you mentioned, Brad, player development, is Filip Zadina. What is Filip Zadina doing this year? Because he is teetering on that. Was he worth his 6th overall stock? Not thinking about the other players who were picked. And do we have to question that? Or is he playing up to that level and progressing as we need him to?
Yeah, I think it's more important that guys like him progress than a Giovanni Smith, because if you can plug and play a guy like him, hopefully, down the road when the team is more competitive. So, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Like, of course, you want to see Giovanni Smith do well.
For
or
sure.
Like Mitchell Stevens do well, but it's not about...
I'm not looking at Giovanni Smith to put up 30 goals. I mean, that'd be amazing.
That'd be incredible.
That would be unbelievable. But it's more so you want those guys who are single-digit picks to start to, kind of appear to be single-digit picks.
Because Zadina's right there. He had a great season last year and just was not getting bounces and just needs minor tweaks to his game. Zadina should pop off this year. Zadina should score 20 goals this year. Zadina should break 50 points based on what we've seen in the first 2 seasons from him. If he doesn't, that's concerning. Or at least, like, he doesn't have to break them, but he's got to be, like, right there.
We had a lot of disagreement last year, Brad, about why the Zadina numbers didn't translate, but I'll agree. He looked really good in a lot of areas where he was working on it, to put it lightly, as a rookie and a young player. And yeah, that is the next natural step. It has to start being converted. And, this doesn't remove the onus from the players, of course, but it does come down to the Red Wings organization. So player development, coaching, they're going to have to come in and do it. I'm really looking forward to what Alex Tanguay does for that power play too, because that'll not, even like, let's say the team is just getting absolutely dumped on 5-on-5. That's when it's supremely important for your power play to be an opportunity for your, young stars to shine. Give them some sheltered starts in the offensive zone. Let them fire away.
Yeah, let's not go 40-something power plays without a goal this year.
It was fun to meme that once, and it turned into, Prashanth and Denver Law on Reddit ended up raising, in the Red Wings community, of course, ended up raising a lot of money for the Jamie Daniels Foundation, and that was great. But let's just raise the money without the power play intro this time.
Let's have hey, for every time the Red Wings score a power play goal, we'll donate this. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at all this money we have at the end of it. That'd be a better alternative.
Yeah. Anyhow, excited about preseason hockey, which, like, I'm not saying that to kid around. Excited about Red Wings hockey. The last player-specific point I want to talk about here, it's not a major one. Goalies. We're thinking split, hot hand will ride when it makes sense, but for the most part, they're not going to ask Greiss or Nedeljkovic, either one of them, to play many more than 50 games.
I figured it would be somewhat similar to last year.
Do we consider 50-32 a split?
No.
That's the breakdown I expect, Nedeljkovic being the 50.
Yeah, but let's say Nedeljkovic, goalies are weird, so let's say Nedeljkovic has a hard time adjusting to this team because he's not playing behind Carolina's defense anymore. And Greiss has been used to it for a little while longer, and Greiss is hotter, so he plays, or injuries or whatever.
Yeah, you play the better goalie or you split, but again, we talk about players in this vein all the time. It applies to goalies too. Greiss isn't the future. Nedeljkovic could be. Even when Nedeljkovic is struggling, you can't sit him for 5 games in a row. You just can't. That's not how it works this season.
All right. How do you guys feel? Ready for some overtime questions?
Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to cover?
Yeah, I want to circle back to the vaccine discussion. No.
Oh, man. Anyways,
I feel like I can piss off both sides still.
That is something that you were supremely talented at.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a question or two about it that I can do that on.
I think Evan is the only one to not have someone, like, some weird person make 6 burners specifically to attack him. You've had it and I've had it, but Evan's like...
Oh, no, people hate me enough. They don't do burners. They just... I get to see their
main
face.
profile.
Yeah. They use their work email.
If you see this face in public, I will kill you.
Yeah. Which is I'm supremely grateful for, because, like I said, I can see their face. I know who to avoid.
Boy. Okay.
Although it's weird, though, when they have, like, a picture of their kid as their profile picture. Now I'm walking around, like, in fear of the
child
toddler.
do I have to punch in the face?
I'm just going to see some toddler walking through a Red Wings game. Ah, run!
Oh, we didn't even cover. Kirill Kaprizov signed a 5-year, $45 million
Who the hell
deal.
cares?
And Jack Eichel saga is going swimmingly. Failed his physical predictably and has been stripped of his captaincy predictably. So
A level of petty I respect.
Okay, we're going to jump into overtime, as brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Our patrons are the only reason we wake up in the morning. You guys are incredible people and are the only people I've ever had hope in my life, including the people sitting in this room. I hate both of you. Patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to keep supporting this show. Cody Stark says, I must correct you on your Hockeytown take from last episode. I'm not sticking up for either here. I just want to make sure you know the history. Neither Minnesota nor the Twin Cities have called themselves Hockeytown. War Road, Minnesota is the self-proclaimed Hockeytown. This is because they've produced 7 Olympians and 5 NHL players with an average population over the years of 1,500 people. They've been referring to them as Hockeytown for decades, whereas Detroit started this in the 90s, correct? I think we can both say Hockeytown. We can say both are Hockeytowns in 2 very different senses. Thank you for your time.
What's the rough population of Detroit?
What's the Detroit metro area?
1,500.
Like, no,
yeah.
I think like 1.2 million people.
Oh yeah,
That's more like Hockey Hamlet.
we could take out that town in an afternoon. Like we'll just fine. Let's go to war over it.
Cody, that's level-headed and measured, and we don't do that on this podcast.
No, absolutely not. I'm declaring war on this town.
No, but thank you. That's actually a cool piece of information I didn't know. Ruthless and Toothless says, now that you've teamed up with the Wings officially, do you think it'll censor your thoughts and opinions with the assumption that they'll be listening? No, because we've known people from the org have been listening for a while, and
Listened. I'm sure they listened and went, yeah, nah.
no, we're always. I think we've grown. Well, where we've grown is being very. We just think about, you know, when we say something, how many people are listening, and that we try to think about when we say something, how many people. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the words out of my mouth.
You're trying to get the words out of your mouth, and Brad's getting too many out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the middle, we're finding that sweet spot. No, we'll never censor anything that's worth talking about or our opinions, because that's worthless to you, the listener.
Listen, we just had a conversation that we know we're going to get absolutely blasted for. It's fine.
Yeah.
You get used to it after a while. You just we're so dead inside that it doesn't even matter anymore.
Ruthless and Toothless goes on to say, I think Bert's days are numbered. Steve made clear with the comment about his family and that's coming from a GM who never makes personal comments. Moreover, we now know why Bert had contract issues. I don't know that I would make that logical leap.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the Yzerman point. Not to the same level you are, where I think he's done, but no, let's not forget Bertuzzi had to go to arbitration last summer. A sticky contract situation with him is not new.
I wouldn't be surprised if it factored in, but I don't think it did. No. Steve likes cerebral players, and Bert doesn't fit that mold. Send him to Florida where he'll fit in. I do think, this was before any of the vaccination stuff. The prevailing opinion in this room was he's likely to be moved. I don't know that tough contract negotiations twice with Yzerman spells something long term.
No, yeah, his age doesn't fit the timeline. His current contract doesn't fit the timeline. All Mantha's negotiations went swimmingly, and everything seemed on the up and up, and his ass got booted out. So you never know.
Yeah, it's tough. Clint Benesh says, I know this has been asked and I've heard it on the pod before, but where do you guys buy good jerseys? I recently ordered one from the NHL store, and the chest patch was not a patch. It was basically an iron-on vinyl sticker. Yeah, you got to avoid the Fanatics stuff. If you are from Canada, shoot me a DM. My work is absolutely blowing out Adidas jerseys right now. Sport SK, there's a Detroit place which I need to find the name of it. I'll try to bring it up next podcast. That does really good jerseys. There's a few places. If DM me on Twitter, Clint, and I'll try to get back to you. Rowan is also the jersey guru. Max 1 million says, I feel like Stevie Y was more vocal during the training camp presser than usual. Goes on to talk about what we've mentioned about not directly saying things about Bert, but mentioning some stuff. Glad I'm not the only one who noticed. I mean, I think everyone did. He also made the joke with Helene St. James about the Wings mask and wearing it when talking to Bert. Should we be reading between the lines here? I think it's perfectly fair to a little bit. Is this the most direct Yzerman will be with the media in expressing frustration or disappointment? This will probably come up on the episode. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was nothing. I think it meant something. I think he did it on purpose, and we're just arguing about severity. Was it kind of like a haha, in jest, elbow, got to deal with it? Or was it, no, this is a message, we're not happy? I don't know. It could be somewhere in between, but it definitely wasn't nothing. My personal take on it, Yzerman's exhausted by it all, and he thinks it's a nuisance and a pain in the ass, and he won't ever force. Obviously, he can't force Bert to do it, but he wishes it wasn't the case, and is like, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to make the joke. The same way we get tired and make jokes. Like he's like, if you're going to be doing this, I get to at least take a dig.
A very tame gallows humor.
Yeah, it was fine. The Caminator says, I saw my first Dub sticker in the wild last week. A red Jeep heading north on 75 made me even more excited to finally meet up with some fellow supporters at the meetup.
I haven't seen one yet.
By the way, we're getting things together. We're really organizing for the event, but we are going to be doing, now that we're back into the season and we're settling a little bit more into routines, there's going to be a lot of stuff being mailed out soon. So keep an eye on the mailboxes. A few episodes ago, Ryan used my favorite word, amenable. With that in mind, what is your favorite word? Aussie for Hall, stay fresh.
I don't know. Sleep?
Sleep is your favorite word. Yeah, it actually, activity. If we had a word cloud for Evan, golf and sleep would be the two biggest words.
Yeah, definitely.
No, my favorite word?
It's silence. Brad likes when it's quiet. That's a man who had 2 kids. Defenestrate is also a good word.
Superfluous.
Superfluous is good. What's one that anyways, we won't get into this. Cody Geyer says, with all the drama going on between Eichel and the Sabres, do you think a team could get Eichel for a lot less than originally thought?
I think we're already there.
Yep. Tony Whoop Whoop says, with the youth movement in the Red Wings organization, are there any young forwards thinking coach prospects that I think maybe there's a typo in there, and I don't know how to read. Probably both. Any forward-thinking coaching prospects in the ranks? Hockey often being referred to as the old man club with recycled coaches. I'd love to see new blood.
There's lots out there. Are there any in the Red Wings organization yet? I don't know them well enough to have an opinion.
Alex Tanguay has head coaching ambitions, so we'll see where that goes. And apparently he did well within the Minnesota Wild organization with Iowa. So that's where he came from, right? The Iowa Wild.
Yeah.
Code, like, you look at the NCAA, look at Major Junior, like there's so many and they don't get the media time, obviously, because why would they? It's hard to know, but they are out there. Colorado 14ers says Jack Eichel is being completely selfish. How dare he put his own medical decisions ahead of the team? He's forced the Sabres into being shorthanded for all games in Canada and those in the U.S. too, for that matter. If I were a Sabres fan and had an Eichel jersey, I'd burn it for sure. I have no time for a guy who put their own health choices over those of his team. And since I'm a guy who plays video games and trades meme stocks for a living, my opinion on other people's medical choices means quite a lot.
You gotta melt the jersey. You can't set the jersey on fire. You gotta melt it down and inject it.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Like, first of all, I appreciate the delivery of that, and that's a fair point. Nick Geyer says, well, I did something I shouldn't. I got into a Twitter argument. This guy really said we could trade Bert for Eichel. No, we cannot.
I mean,
if we can, please.
I'll drive him to the airport.
A fully healthy, fully vaccinated, no restrictions, Tyler Bertuzzi. I would trade 3 of him for one Jack Eichel.
What is the worst take you've seen in your mentions? Oh, God, no. No. I have
my favorite recent one is one guy was very adamant that he already has and we should have given up on Philip Zadina. He was at 4 replies deep before I just started responding with meme gifs because I just was exhausted.
I have that biological thing. It's more so for women to forget the pain of childbirth. That's like a biological thing they actually forget. I have that with Twitter. I intentionally forget replies, so I am motivated to open the app again.
I don't even read them, so.
Yeah, Evan can't even read. Detroit Bombshell says, after listening to this week's Patreon exclusive, I realized I don't know anything about drafting going back more than when I started listening to you over the last couple of years. When talking about draft slot and living up to draft potential, how often do players live up to what's expected? Way less than you'd think.
Yeah, very. People go into every draft thinking your every first round pick is going to be a first liner, first pair defense, yada, yada, yada. The drop off from averaging top 6 to bottom 6 is a shockingly high number in the draft. And by high, I mean closer to 1. Once you get past usually pick 15, you're happy if you get a regular for the length of his career.
Yeah.
a legit star very rarely comes outside of like the top 5.
Yeah. So it's okay to be disappointed in players not living up to their draft stock. It never works out where the top 10 players are the 10 best players in that order. So don't think that it will work out that way. You just have to work within the construct of some structure to measure.
You always have to understand context, because my favorite example of that right now is, does anybody think Philip Zadina is living up to a 6th overall pick right now? I would say by and large, no. If you asked 100 people to redraft that draft right now, you know where Philip Zadina goes? Around 6. Like, so
yeah,
everything contextualized is super, super important.
Nick Lindemann says, I was reading Dom's season preview, and it seems like he's the other extreme to the back in my day hockey fans solely relying on analytics without context. Do you feel like people in the hockey world are starting to rely too much on analytics without using anything to provide context?
Absolutely not. No, we are still way further to the other end of that spectrum. Teams are using it more.
Teams, yeah. I don't think are.
Yeah, no,
I think general hockey consensus and opinions maybe do without context. I think that's a problem. Not like a big problem.
Anybody who's sitting there and relying on one or the other is wrong.
That needs to be a holistic picture.
You need to use everything.
Ryan Dodds says, good morning, Winged Wheel Weirdos. With all the hype for the 21-22 season to start, what was your favorite off-season as a Red Wings fan? And what was your favorite regular season to watch as a fan? The lead up to 01-02, that cup was my favorite offseason, and my favorite regular season, maybe it was that year as well. I just loved watching that team.
I'm going to go 95, 96 for regular season, because that was like right when I really started getting into hockey in the NHL, and the Red Wings, set the all-time wins record. That was a good time. Favorite offseason, I'm going to say I was a hockey loudmouth prick to all my friends in the summer of 08, and I really want to do that again. I don't care who. I don't even remember if they signed or traded for anybody that offseason, but we were fresh off a cup, and I was telling anybody who was willing to listen how happy I was about it.
Do you have a favorite season and or offseason?
They just signed Marian Hossa.
Right.
AJ Voss says, do we know why Wallstedt fell the way he did? It's so weird to me that he went where he did and that teams had interest in Kosa, but none in Wallstedt. I know Ken Daniels said on this podcast that Detroit was worried about his ability to make the transition, but we know if that was the case for every other team. Not every team needs a goalie so bad where they're willing to spend a first-round draft pick on them. And the teams that were Detroit, who just happened to like Kosa's game more long-term, and Edmonton, where probably the same thing, and they had a lot of exposure to Kosa because he was in Edmonton, so that's also why.
Yeah, my favorite example of this, I want to say it was Cam Fowler, who fell to 12 despite being a consensus top 5 pick in his draft. Was all the teams that passed on him really, really liked him. He was just number 2 on a lot of people's list at the time. For all we know, Jesper Wallstedt was number 2 on everybody's list from like 10 to when he was picked. He might not have been very far down on their list. They just, I like this guy a little more. I like this guy a little more. So then you factor in the fact it's a goalie. Teams who aren't goalie needy generally tend to not pick goalies in the first round. And even teams that are goalie needy are still scared by goalies. So
League Max fine of $5 says, hoping I haven't heard too much Bert hate. I hate to see it. Hockey's the one place to get away from the deep-rooted hate and judgment. Today, I love listening to you guys. I love hockey. All of the Wings and love Bert. I can't wait to watch some games this year. I think that's something most everyone can agree on. Obi-Wan Kenobi says, with the Vrana injury, does that open the door for Raymond to make the team out of camp? I think we need more than just one.
But it doesn't hurt his chances.
Doesn't hurt it. James says, asked the same thing about Vrana and Raymond. Also, if there's any more info on the injury for Vrana. No, not other than he has to see a specialist tomorrow, according to Max. So that's something to kind of...
And shoulders are complicated.
Yeah. Anytime you see specialists, you're like, ugh. Hey, Evan says, hey, Evan, let's fill your hot tub with poutine. No question, just poutine.
No, I'm not doing that after all the work it's taken to get it almost ready.
Is it on the hot tub pad yet?
No.
What do you do when you go home?
Oh, I'm sorry. I went on a golf trip.
Oh, is that a good? Do you think that was a good retort?
Yeah, I do. As it was great.
Oh, next piece of merch is Winged Wheel Podcast knives, and soon you'll be able to bid on one with real podcast host blood on it. Which one of ours? Probably multiple.
It won't be mine, I'll tell you that.
Simon says, 27 says, longtime listener, new subscriber. Simon says, thank you so much for supporting the show. Would a good reverse retro for the Wings be the one from the 1991 with the stripes? Is that
Yes! Oh my God, yes! Every year they don't bring it back, I get angrier. And can you imagine a red version of that? Could you imagine? Ryan, think about a red version of that.
I actually like a white version more, but a red version would have been fun as hell. Will Schobert says, decided to go in a different direction than the Bertuzzi conversation. I've been considering adjustment options to the CHL agreement. NHL teams can buy a player's rights from the respective CHL teams if they're under 20 to play in the A. The NHL team would have to pay the equivalent of what that player's value is to the CHL team. Not exactly sure what that formula would be like, but I imagine some combo of production, jersey, and ticket sales. Each NHL team could use one CHL purchase on a player they drafted, let's say, every 2 seasons. If the NHL and CHL team can't come to an agreement on player worth, it would go to an arbitrator.
Man, that would really suck drafting people from a London or a Kitchener, like a big CHL market.
More so, I think it would hurt the Columbus Blue Jackets of the league, like or teams that pinch pennies or don't have as much. Although I think if you're not spending to the cap and aren't spending on your team, don't own the goddamn sports team. But that's just me.
I've always been in favor of a set number of exceptions. Like every 2 years, you're allowed one exception where you're allowed to pluck him from junior and slap him in the A.
I do like that with a mix of what Will has mentioned here, which is some kind of compensation to the CHL team, because it is important to keep butts in seats for the CHL, because that still remains the NHL's biggest feeder series, right? So you can't completely strip them away of all their talent and without compensation.
It would create an interesting dynamic because, in theory, the most common use of this would be after you draft a guy, you send the player back to junior for his 18-year-old year, and then you throw him in the AHL for the 19-year-old year. But if you think he's that in-between guy, you throw him to the AHL for his 18-year-old year, but then he's in the NHL the year after, so you could take that risk. It would create a very, very interesting decision tree for these teams.
Third Man In says, looking forward to the Bertuzzi masks showing up in the Red Wings NHL shop later this week. Icebox Polka says, game time, please draw parallels between NHL and NFL teams. I think the Leafs best comparable is the Cowboys. Oh, yeah, that one's
1,000%.
Huge market, annoying fan base, always disappointed. Who are the Red Wings of the NFL and who are the Lions of the NHL?
The Lions of the NHL is definitely the Buffalo Sabres, because just new, weird, awful things keep happening to them.
Red Wings of the NFL
So a team that was really, really good for really long and now suck.
Packers?
New England?
Yeah, I like New England because I can't believe I just associated the Red Wings and the Packers. That makes me sick.
I hate New England. That's my hell. But New England was the model franchise in the NFL forever. And so are the Red Wings. And now they're awful. One of those things makes me happy. The other doesn't.
It's New England. Vincent Saladino says, I had a few ideas for Patreon exclusives. It'd be cool if you did one where you project what the opening night roster for this season would be. Or if you said who your top 10 Wings prospects were. I also think an episode where you bring up some hot takes would be interesting. For example, Larkin plus for Eichel. Also, it'd be cool if you could... he's just naming all of our Patreon exclusives. If I figure out you guys use my ideas without paying me, then you can expect a lawsuit coming your way. Keep up the good work and stay fresh, cheese bags. Yeah, throw it in the pile.
Thank God for timestamps.
Lars, the prophet of the towering behemoth, says, greetings again from Lead Scar outside Skarplinge in the municipality of Tierp in Uppsala, Eon, Sweden, the land of bearded men.
You can't convince me you're just not naming fish.
Big axes, yet gentle, supple hands. Strange. Scary thing, but bear with me. I think that the Griffins haven't been very successful in developing talent they've been given, at least not with a satisfying frequency. That's because they're employing the same hockey philosophy and strategies as the Blashill version of the Wings, and it's stiflingly safety first. Or is there another reason as to why so few that end up in Grand Rapids come back with better players? Cheers, and can't wait to see Witcher Season 2 kicking off and Neil Gaiman's Sandman coming to Netflix.
I really don't know why. I brought up the point an episode or two ago, and I do think it's an issue, But I don't know what the issue is, unfortunately, because there's been several coaching staffs that have went through Grand Rapids in the time of quote-unquote disappointment.
The official Steve of the podcast says, ouch, to lose on a 66... Yeah, I haven't even brought up how the Lions lost today. Lose on a 66-yarder NFL record that bounced off the crossbar and in after a missed delay of game.
I'm happy to talk NFL today.
No, Harry Perry...
Hey.
Yeah,
my team did you a favor today.
Well, first of all, I'm still losing because I'm bad at fantasy football, but I will give credit. Josh Allen was a monster today.
Yeah.
Harry Perry says, no question, just a heartfelt thank you for the distraction from the numerous replays of Justin Tucker's field goal for the next 4 days. That who had that shot off of the sheer face of that grass? Spieth.
Yeah.
That was insane.
That was, I don't even know what to say about that. It was the craziest shot I've seen in a long time.
We were all hoping he was going to fall in the water after, right?
Yeah.
He was close. Hell, and then Justin Thomas missed that putt.
Missed the putt.
Dude, you cannot miss that putt after that shot.
They're going to be talking about that missed putt when he loses his next tournament playoff.
Yeah.
Bill Nye the Thigh Guy says, listen here, Dub boys, I didn't even flex that hard about the Maldives. It was more of a casual mention. I'll flex on you in the Discord channel or drop the photo album. Thanks again for putting out quality content that I'm able to download and save me some sanity on my 16-hour flight home from there. Keep up the great work.
Casually bring up the Maldives again, are we?
Okay. Question, did Kaprizov adjust the winger market with his contract? When can Brad do another gear talk? And winter season for Beer League is starting and could use pointers for upgrading my equipment. We'll figure that out soon for you.
My schedule is pretty hectic. I will try to get one out as soon as possible.
For the month of October, we'll do it.
Probably, yeah. I'll try to get one in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Whenever that is. I don't know when that can be, but I definitely am way overdue on that.
Kaprizov in the winger market, I don't know. If you're Kaprizov level, maybe, but I feel like that's always been the case with players of his caliber.
We overestimate how many players in the NHL are of Kaprizov's level.
Yeah. Vax Waxed and blocked by Tyler Bertuzzi's burner says, hey fellas, you ever think about how, like, if a giant asteroid hit Earth and busted it apart, all our plastics would be floating around in space? And since they wouldn't get much UV light, they wouldn't decompose. And then aliens cruising by the remnants of Earth a few thousands of years from now would see our plastic shit floating around in space, like a VCR, a Mr. Potato Head, a Cuisinart, a Guitar Hero controller, a Furby. What strange gods they had, they would think. Ozzy for Hall of Fame, stay fresh, cheese bags. Joseph, I need you to know that I love you, truly.
How high are you?
One of my favorite weird comments we've ever had. Misconduct Racing says, is it just me or did Yzerman look like he's slowly turning into Uncle Junior on The Sopranos? Oh, that was that picture of him in the white turtleneck watching. Oh, yeah. It looked very overlordy. Sam W says, besides Seider, who takes the biggest step forward this season?
For the betterment of the organization, it's Lucas Raymond.
I'm going to come out with a little bit of an unconventional answer. I'm going to say Filip Hronek.
I'm going to say Philip Zadina.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. All right, time for...
Philip. It's definitely going to be Philip.
Time for some Reddit questions before wrapping up here. Telekas says, if you could choose one for the Red Wings to have kept, which would it be? Marcel Dion, Adam Oates, or the Vasilevsky pick?
Adam Oates, right?
It's got to be Adam Oates, and I think the only...
Y'all sleeping on Marcel Dion. My God.
Yeah.
He was a top 5 scorer in the NHL there for a while. Like,
only you were alive when he played in the NHL, Brad.
Okay, for me, talking about the Vasilevsky pick, I think you can't guarantee that pick would have been used on him, and that's why.
Yeah, the Red Wings were very comfortably with Jimmy Howard at that point. My God, was it ever Marcel Dion? Are we kidding?
I can't put up an argument here. I don't care that much.
Nerf Airstrike Commander says, do you see any surprise roster changes to either Detroit or the Griffins coming out of the camp? For the sake of the question, consider the injury issues to Vrana, Larkin, and Berggren.
I'm still really hopeful we see Raymond on the opening night roster. That would be surprising as hell, but it's probably the most likely surprising move because, one, there's been injuries, and two, he real good.
Yeah. Some awful username 69 says, other than prospects succeeding, what other aspects are you looking to see for growth with the Wings this year?
Some goddamn goals. It was great their defense worked its way up to league average, but they were 1 goal away from being the lowest scoring team in the league.
Power plays.
Goals. Don't care how they come.
And lastly here from Zesty Zucchini. Is that what it is? Zucchini says, what are the minimum benchmarks from certain players or the team for Yzerman to give Blashill another 1-year deal? So we heard a little bit about Zadina. I think Hronik. I don't know. Like Hronik's on like production.
Score on a goalie this year.
Just score at all. Just please score once.
On a goalie.
Evan, give us one benchmark you're looking from any player to say you're happy with Blashill's performance this year.
Evan's benchmark's going to be like for him to put up a 300 at the Detroit Golf Club.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Get me out there. I don't know. Who you guys said, did you say Philip Hronik at all?
We gave joke answers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said Hronik, but I'm like, his production was still there. I just want to see him actually play like better hockey.
It would be nice to see Rasmussen take a little bit of a step.
That's good. For him to continue his development.
Give us an acceptable goal total for Michael Rasmussen this year.
13.
Yeah,
I like it.
Very fair.
That's on point.
All right, we're gonna wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast. Division previews are starting, and the offseason is over, which means we are back to 2 episodes a week, full episodes. We're here.
Well, the nice thing is, for when we talk about Toronto, we already know their goalies, so that saves some brain power.
It's nice and easy.
We'll just call Steve. We'll get him to yell for an hour.
Yeah, that's probably what we're gonna end up doing. I'd like to thank all of our listeners. Thank you for your patience and thank you for navigating some tougher conversations with us. And for those who agree or disagree or whatever, I'm just excited for everyone to watch some Red Wings hockey this year. Patreon supporters, name level sponsors, Arjun Shankar, Yves Bartels on behalf of the Sarah Grand Foundation, Kyle Karagitz, Nick Perks, Taylor Tadgel, Arjun Shankar, I already said Arjun, Brandon M, Carl Brutanen Nanolewski, Citizen High Five, CJ Sully, Clayton Van Dyken, Craig Kibble, Derek Enstom, DJ Denton, Give Blood, Fight Probert, Greach, Hanali, Hassam Al-Qassem, Jacob Turner, Jake Kiefer, James E, Jeremiah Dobo, Justin and the Angry Mob, Kalen Wood, King Tone, Cody Stark, Kyle Hashman, Kyle McClure, Matt McKay, Matthew M. Rice, R.A., Ryan Hubbard, Scott Martin, Snorting Maple Syrup, right, forgot about that one, Stacy Lynn, Stove Yzerman, Joe Santangelo, Zach Spring, Andrew Bohan, Sam Bankson, Adam, I wish I could finish like Ernie, Antonio Gracias. Can I just say it's a good thing we adjusted the camera position because my stick is out for Harambe if you catch my drift.
That's a name?
Yeah. Oh, he's making me read that out. And yeah. No. I'm not too bright, eh? Like no one ever.
I didn't get it either.
You've never been accused of that.
Colorado 14ers, Connor Leighton, currently out of name ideas, Dave W, Evans Bingo Card, Jeremy Brocker, John Evans, Josh Yelton, Kevin McCracken, Quaz, Matt Keeler, Matt S, Max $1 million, Revi DeLuca, Trevor Pevavar, Vaxxed, Waxed, and Blocked by Tyler Bertuzzi, as Burner, Zach Handyside, Zach McCann, Driving Range Superstar. Thank you all so very much. We will see you midweek. Hockey is back.
And Twitter notifications are off.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.